this next video series, we are going to talk about the top strength training exercises that are non-negotiables for runners, okay? So the first one we're going to cover is the clamshell exercise. And I'm going to go through several different progressions that you can do to make this harder. So hang with me. If you've done this one before, you might still learn something new, okay? So we're going to go on your side. The easiest version of this is to lay all the way onto your side. You can get a pillow for your neck. You're going to start by kind of getting your body into a straight line from your knees all the way up to your shoulders. You're going to get your legs back so that they're almost in like a 90-degree angle back. And then you're going to take this top knee, leaving your feet together and leaving your hips straight up towards the ceiling. You're going to open this up towards the ceiling, kind of thinking about pulling the knee up from your top butt cheek. Okay, so that would be like the easiest version of this exercise. From there, you can come up into like a little side plank. This is going to make it harder because you're adding your core in there. Or you could stay down low and add a band around your knees. So that would be another one, just kind of getting some resistance going up into that range. And then finally, you can make it like a combo hip thrust / clam at the same time by kind of coming down, starting in this position, and then coming up, thrusting forward, opening your knees up, and coming back down. You could even bring your leg all the way up. That would be another way to make it harder. Just like that. The next movement in the non-negotiable strength training exercises for runners is the bridge, okay? So again, just like the clamshell, this can start really simple and then build to a much harder exercise. So we're gonna start at the easiest version on your back. Feet shoulder width apart, knees are gonna stay out. You can kind of just get a pillow and relax your head down. And what you wanna think about with this one is that you are kind of squatting lying down, all right? So what you wanna think about is squeezing your butt and then driving your hips straight up and trying to drive the motion from your butt cheeks and not from your back, okay? So you wanna make sure you're staying tight here, pushing your hips straight up, going into that bridge. From there, you can of course go into a single leg bridge, which is a lot harder. You kind of wanna make sure that your hips are staying nice and even when you do this. I'll show you this way. You wanna make sure the non-stance leg doesn't drop. So kind of keeping those hips nice and even and driving from that single leg butt cheek there. You can also go up with two and then lift one leg up and lower down with one. That's hard because you have to stabilize your pelvis at that top position. Then you can also turn this into more of a traditional hip thrust where you kind of raise up your shoulders. So I'll show you guys that one too. The box. Raise up those shoulders and then drive your hips up from there, right? This increases the range of motion, which makes it much harder. And then of course you can always add weight to this too, to even make that harder still. Exercise in the non-negotiable strength training exercises for runners is the step up, okay? So what you're gonna do is grab yourself a box. You can also just use a step or a bottom stair on a regular staircase, that works too. And what you're gonna do is just get one leg up. You want to shift your weight forward in a way that prevents you from using that back leg to push yourself up and kind of catapult yourself up, because you wanna really focus on that front leg. So you're gonna put your foot up there, you're gonna shift your weight forward, and then you're gonna come all the way up into this opposite knee up and squeeze your quad at the top, okay? So let me turn and face the other way. So again, on the way up, you're kind of using your glute to kind of pull you up to standing, shifting forward, glute, 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 and then as you get up to the top, it's quad, so front of your thigh, and bringing that other leg up to simulate that running position. Hold for a second at the top just for balance, and then control all the way back down. So it's that step up, shift, knee up. Good squeeze at the top. To make this harder, you would want to make it higher. That's gonna make it harder, and then also adding weight in your hands. You can go kind of a counterbalance weight where you're just holding it in one hand, or you can go weight in both hands if you wanna just go more for strength. You could even, if you want to get real crazy, you could even do a barbell with this. Barbell on your back rack, front rack, potentially even overhead, but that would be very hard. Okay, so lots of options with this one. Next exercise in the series of non-negotiable strength exercises for runners is the squat, okay? The squat is the most classic strength exercise out there. It's a staple, a classic, and it's that way for a reason, right? The basics never stop working. It's super important for everybody, regardless of what your sport of choice is, to be training the squat, right? It is functional. You do it every day, whether you want to or not. So if you're moving through that full range on purpose with weight and intention, then when you're doing that in your daily life or in sport, it's going to feel 10 times better and 10 times easier. So often we will start our patients out with squatting to a target, and this just kind of ensures that they are staying in a consistent depth, making sure that they're not collapsing at the bottom and just keeping everything nice and uniform, okay? So I'll show you that one. And of course, I'll show you with no weight and then show you some progressions for it. So to a box, it'll look like this, feet shoulder width apart, knees are gonna go out a little bit, hips are gonna start going back, and then you're just gonna sit straight down, right? We don't wanna make it a hip hinge, it's a squat. So hips back and then straight down, kind of tap the target and come up. You wanna make sure that you're not getting any like collapsing of the back and the bottom. And if you are, reach out to us, we can help you. So just that nice little tap and stand up, right? Then from there, you can of course add some weight. We typically will start people out with a kettlebell, with or without the target, right? So here again, down and up. You can of course do this without a target as well. Then of course from there, you can scale that up as much as you want. You can add a barbell, you can go front rack, back rack, overhead squat, infinite ways to make the squat harder or easier as well. All right, last exercise that we are covering in our non-negotiable strength training exercises for runners is the calf raise or single leg calf raise. Okay, so this is super important because when you're running with optimal form, then you are putting more stress and pressure on the front of your foot, which then puts more stress and pressure on the calves, right? So like I mentioned, when you're running, you should be running more in that forefoot general area. So when you do that, that's working the calves. So if you're not used to running that way, or you're kind of working on your form for the first time, the calves are probably gonna come into play at some point, and you gotta have strong calves to help generate that good power to keep running efficiently, okay? So I'll show you a couple different options for this one. So of course you can just start double leg, just coming straight up. Balance often will come into this too, so you can always hold on to something for balance if you need to. Then a lot of times we'll find that people will kind of like just fall forward on that. So we like to make it more of a single leg, and this of course will be slightly harder. But what you'll do is kind of put one foot up, and this kind of helps you stay nice and upright, hands up behind your head, and then you're gonna use this leg that's on the ground and kind of think about driving your head straight up towards the ceiling. Just like that. And after 10 to 15 or so of those, you should feel a pretty good burn in that calf. And then of course you can add weight to this. You can either hold it in your hands, or you can do even a barbell if you wanted to make that a little bit harder.